Hello, everyone. I'm Jessica Cook. I'm attorney and partner with Foundation Title and Escrow. We are located in the Peerless Center in Johnson City, but we serve all of East Tennessee and Southwest Virginia. And I'm excited to be here with you guys today because I am talking about a really big hot topic in our industry, wire fraud. So my first question is, out of curiosity, who here has had experience with cybercrime, wire fraud, whether it be personal or one of your real estate transactions? Ooh. Okay. Yeah. Scary stuff. So today I'm going to kind of touch on different types of cybercrime, wire fraud, but the biggest thing that we're going to do today is look at a real life experience. So this is something that happened in my office. The buyer's email was compromised. So we will go through that in just a minute. So in your folders today that I've given you some slides, just different things, and we're not going to go through every single one. Things that you can look at. And the second handout should be this email. You'll see it's redacted. Okay. So different types of wire fraud. We've got business email compromise. That's where, like, for True North. You guys, I don't know what your security is like for your email, but this is when somebody, a fraudster, would try to compromise your email. Then you've got the email account compromise. That's an individual's email account being compromised. Then we've got phishing. You know, you guys get those text messages that say, hey, it's Joey, and I need you to send me the $100 gift card, right? Okay, so you know those. Then you've got spoofing, and there are a variety of ways that they could do spoofing. One in particular that we really see a lot in our industry is they will create a valid email address, but they change the name and maybe even the title of the person that comes through on the email. So when you see it, you may see Jessica Cook, and that's all you see. Because you think about when you get emails, you don't really always see the email address. So you have to be diligent to go through and validate, is this really from who it says it's from? And so that's what we're going to touch on today. So if you guys have this email, I think Callie's already probably been through this.
I already have that in the papers.
She's such a good student. Listen to me. Okay. So before I give you too much information, I've already told you this is an actual email situation that we had come through my office. Everything is redacted, but what I would want you to do is, starting really on page 2. Well, you can look at page 1, but you can go through to page 2, and I want you to kind of write or make notes of something, asterisk, on what you see that stands out, that this is a fraudster at work. Everyone's so studious, I love it. we'll kind of start going through it. And the reason that I want to bring this to your attention to where you can see a real life example is because we're going to follow this up with what is the real estate professional's role in protecting your client and what can happen to you if you are not properly protecting your client. Because, I don't know if you all knew, but the 2021 numbers came out as far as how many dollars were lost by U.S. consumers to cybercrime. 6.9 billion in 2021. Real estate cybercrime losses reached 350 million in 2021.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that's scary. And so they're targeting us because we're always moving money, right? That's what we do. We're wiring money, we're helping facilitate wires, we're helping facilitate moving money. So they're constantly watching our industry. That's why Foundation Title takes a big stance on our security. I mean, a lot of times, and we get emails that get caught up in what is it, like our Barracuda network, because they're filtering all of our emails that come through, and maybe it should have gotten through, but it didn't, and I would rather it be more cautious than not, because once a title company is hit with some sort of cybercrime, they eventually are shut down for a few days. That just makes my heart sink to my stomach, because could you imagine as a title company being shut down and not doing closings for a few days? I mean, isn't that what that does to you? So, hugely important. All right, so if you're looking at page 2, what's the first thing that catches your eye?
Email.
Email. So the email address, and this was that right here at the top. This was that version of spoofing that I was talking about. So it comes through, if you just maybe even are just looking at it on your phone, which this is what happened. The buyer's email was compromised. Angela Hawkins is one of my senior escrow officers, and they copied her name. You look down here, they copied her signature block, but they created a Gmail address, so it didn't get caught by any kind of security. But here's the other problem. As agents, if you are just using a Gmail or a Yahoo or a Hotmail, you're really, really, really putting yourself and your clients at risk. And so there's another handout in there about that. So if you keep going on down here, what are some other things that stood out to you?
Caps, change of font.
I'm 8 mail away.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're also not the mail away. That
Right.
would be the client saying.
Right.
Phone number's wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Also, one thing to point out is it says you will need to wire the cash to close today. Mm-hmm. So it was a sense of urgency, and this was from October 27th. The closing date was not until like November 13th. So when they had the sense of urgency, so you'll see all the different font sizes, the grammar, the run-on sentences, a phone number and a fax number, 2 different area codes. The biggest thing is that email address is not correct. If you go on to page 2, you'll see this goes on to November 10th. Same things, grammar, run-on sentence, just the wrong lingo. Again, I'm a mail away closing. Okay.
Very strange.
Yes. That sense of urgency. Go to the last page, and they even went as far as to spoof our wiring instructions.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see those look pretty similar to ours, but it's a different bank. The account name says Gloria Hernandez.
Yeah.
If you reference the email where these wiring instructions were attached, it says, our company account is currently undergoing a review and an audit, which is why they have this name to this individual's name to send your wire to instead of the company account. That's not a thing. That never happens. Okay? So what happened here, and honestly, truth be told, I'm not quite sure if it was the buyer's email address or the agent's email address that was compromised here, and that, in how the fraudsters got to the buyer. So she was a woman in her 60s, single, I think fairly recently widowed actually, moving here from out of town, nobody helping her. She got the email, purportedly from Angela, who she talked to on the phone, she's emailed with prior to this happening. She didn't see the red flags. So she wired over $60,000 to this fraudulent account, and it's gone forever. We did everything we could to help her. What happened was that her bank did not do their due diligence, and they let it go and said, not our fault, you gave us fraudulent wiring instructions.
Oh.
So they called the number that was at the bottom of this signature block down here, instead of doing a secondary verification of, is this an accurate phone number? So they wired it out, and they were not willing to help their client.
Wow.
And so we ended up, the sellers were really great, the agents were really great, the lender was great, everybody was great and felt really horrible for her. We all worked together to get it closed. But she's out over $60,000. That was part of her retirement. Yeah. And so that's where I talk about real estate agents play a role here too. And Matt and I have had this conversation, and you guys have the wire fraud form signed, right? Matt shared that with me because I just kind of wanted to see what it looked like. You know, it covers the important highlights of wire fraud. But how many people actually read that?
They don't.
They don't. They don't read it. They don't read it. You can even put the initial blocks there. They might skim over it a little more than they normally would have, but they don't actually read it. They don't take the time to. And then when there's money, their money is gone because they've fallen into the trap. They're pointing fingers. You all, they're looking at me. They're,
Everyone becomes a bad guy.
everyone, they're distraught. So if you guys will go over to, let's see. There's an article here, Real Estate Agents' Role in Wire Fraud Prevention and Preparedness. I would just strongly encourage you to read this yourself. Think about when you're presenting all of these documents to your clients, and I know there's a lot that's going on. This cybercrime is so bad right now, it's worth it to pause and take a moment and have that additional conversation. And I would be even willing to help you put together, if you guys wanted to put together an additional sheet that goes with your wire fraud form, that's a little more bullet point, something easier to see. I'd be happy to work with you on that. But it's so important, because once their money is gone, there's not a lot we can do. NAR has put out some bullet points that you'll see that are really important, that can help you as far as becoming preparing your client too. But we also have a list of things of what we have to do, all of us as real estate professionals, if your client becomes a victim of wire fraud, cybercrime. One of those being, when this happened to our buyer, we had to call the FBI. It was over $50,000, so we have to call the FBI, and they have to initiate the wire fraud kill chain whole thing. We have to call the receiving bank. We have to let them know what's happened. We have to make sure the sending bank and the receiving bank are all working together. And it falls within our duties as a real estate professionals, helping the client to do that. Was it really for a title company to have to jump in and do that? It wasn't our emails that were compromised. No, not technically, but of course we're going to help, but we all have a fiduciary duty to the client. We've now engaged in helping them facilitate this real estate transaction. So what I'll kind of end with is this, and I really hope we can have some open dialogue about this, and that's kind of the way I love to teach, is just open dialogue. But I've also provided a copy of Bain versus Platinum Realty, LLC. This is a 2018 federal court case, and in this case, the real estate broker was found 85% liable for the buyer's wire fraud experience. 15% fault was assessed to the buyer. That totaled about a little over $167,000
Oh my gosh.
that the brokerage had to pay out in punitive damages. And what happened essentially, and again, I won't read it to you, but essentially the agent's email was compromised. And they forwarded wiring instructions to the buyer. They shouldn't have done that. Always make your client call the title company and do this directly with the title company. Don't be the middleman for that.
No.
The agent acted as the middleman, sent the incorrect wiring instructions. The money's gone. The buyer's sued, and the buyer was a savvy real estate investor. So their argument was, well, they should have known better. You have a fiduciary duty with your client, so it doesn't matter. They got 15% fault for they should have known better. The agent got 85%.
Wow.
So when I say this is hugely, hugely, hugely important in the daily operations of our business, like I can't stress it enough, because the last thing that you want is for somebody's coming in to say my money's gone, and like I said, all fingers are pointing at everybody but themselves, right? Read this case. Get this out to everybody in your brokerage, because you don't want this to be somebody versus True North.
Yeah.
Right?
We do not.
Right? So what are your thoughts?
Scary.
It is scary. It is scary.
I know, especially like in 2020 and 2021, like how busy everything was. Some people just kind of bypass that, like, okay, get the offer in, and it's like, but you have to at least reiterate it on the phone and reiterate it in an email and say, hey, I did send that over. Make sure if you have any questions at all about any of these documents that you're reading, this is a binding contract. This is something that you are bound to. You're signing everything in the terms and conditions, basically, and always call. I mean, I always tell my clients, I'm like, if we do a transfer, make sure it's never going to be from a Gmail from a company that we're working with. It's just not. You're either going to have a .com or whatever it is, but it won't be Yahoo, Gmail, AOL. Just
That's right.
always check those things and always call them. Like, if you think there is an issue, always call the title company. I'm not
Always.
in charge of it, but if you want me
That's
to call
right.
them, that's cool, and I'll refer them to you. They can call you directly from there, but I mean,
You
call the
definitely want
title
to make
company.
your stance known that you don't have anything to do with the wiring instructions, the wiring of money. So this happened in 2016. The case finally, was finished in 2018. So you're thinking 2 years
Wow.
that it's dragged out. How many attorney's fees and all this court costs and all that. I don't think the wire fraud form was a thing in 2016, right? Was it?
It's a fairly newer form.
I mean, it's copyright 2018, and I have a feeling this case probably had something to do with getting this pushed through. Yeah. So this is helpful, but and it's helpful then that people maybe sign it and initial it, but still you open yourself up to the possibility of litigation. And who wants to deal with that? Who has time for that? Who has the money to spend on that? Just to throw it away. So, and I know, like I said, I know there's so much you guys have to get signed up front already, conversations you have to have already. But this is such a hot topic right now. Don't glaze over it. Don't glaze over it. Coming from a legal standpoint, this can gobble you up in legal fees, court costs, time. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Right. And I like what Callie said. She's prepared her clients ahead of time. And maybe a lot of agents don't think about doing that.
That's probably true, and I agree with you 100% to prepare your clients ahead of time. And as JR and I have always said in things that we've done, document. You've got your file and what your system is, but document stating, hey, on this date, I had this conversation with my clients about the potential of wire fraud.
That's a good idea.
Document your file.
Timestamp it.
Absolutely.
That's a good idea.
I think it's a general, there's a general issue though with wire fraud. It's just a big money one compared to so many other things that happen in the transaction. And I think it's important to tell your clients early on, I'm a real estate professional, it's my job. You would not feel bad asking a plumber any question while they were doing something. Yet for some reason, people always feel weird asking us questions that they feel like they should know. I bought a house before, so I feel dumb.
Yeah,
right.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
So the premise of overall in the beginning of the transaction is telling the person, if you don't know something for sure, if you're not sure about something, please ask me. Like I want you to ask me questions, and
And
that
if-
stops
yeah.
a lot of the.
Absolutely. And if you don't know the answer, you'll find it, or if you're not the right professional to answer it, you can get them the professional to answer the question. I think you're absolutely right.
But just,
Absolutely.
and just double checking, telling them, you double check, call the title company, call,
Call the number that you know is verified, because the bank, a local bank, called the number on this, on the fake signature block, which was like a 706 area code. They called that number and they verified the wiring instructions and they sent the wire. As a bank, especially, they should have taken an extra step to Google us
Right.
and verify.
now, what's your real number at Foundation?
Because, I mean, she went into the local branch buying a house here locally, and, it was just, that's the extra step to take. So always, always, always double verify. Because our protocol is that we have to call, before we send any kind of wires, we have to call and verify wiring instructions. We have a net proceeds form. So generally this is for sellers that want their money wired. They fill it out. They have to provide a phone number for us to call to verify the wiring instructions. This document we require to be notarized. So it cannot be just an e-signed type of form. They have to go into a notary and fill it out and send it back to us. And some people get really up in arms about it, but it's for their protection. It's absolutely for their protection.
I think we were talking about like communicating, that's great and all, but it doesn't matter if litigation happens. So like, yes, we should prep them, but then like don't pat yourself on the back if we're like, well, I told them about it. That doesn't matter. It's what you can document, what can you prove.
Yeah.
So I like the idea, like a lot of the stuff that we have them sign, like we have, that's why when we send out all of our disclaimer notice, we have the disclaimer notice, we have working with a real estate professional, we have in the exclusive right to sell or exclusive buyers organization that says, here's the things that I do, here's the things I'm not. Then also, we have the wire fraud that we sent, and then all of our contracts after 2020 and 2021 forms, they put another initial box of a wire fraud of, hey, you're not going to send anything, blah, blah, you're going to call to verify. And all that's great, that's documented, but if I was talking with Jessica too, a great way to make sure that somebody is reading through all of the stuff, especially on a purchase and sale agreement, is I like putting which we need to start doing now, but it's kind of hit or miss, putting initials at the end of each page of a contract.
That's a good idea.
So that way
Yeah.
they don't accuse you, because Dot Loop they'll send them the form and it goes wham, goes right down to the bottom. And somebody clicks it and signs it. Like, all right, I think I signed everything. If it's a very happy-go-lucky type person, they didn't read it. They just heard what you said and they signed it. If it's type A, they're reading every line. You don't have to worry about it.
Right.
But just to make sure that at the end of each page, so if they go, well, my agent never informed me of this or whatever, like they're going to have an initial box saying, hey, I'm not going to do wire fraud, and then at the bottom of that page
Yes.
is initial.
That's huge.
And so I think that is where if anything happens, because everybody's happy and real supportive of one another until money's out of the bank account, and they're like, you're a
Correct.
piece of trash, you didn't say
It
this.
turns everything
Everybody's in it.
immediately. Yeah.
So having that documentation, because a lot of us, we just call on our regular phones, we don't call through the company phone, TalkRoute, which TalkRoute is recorded. On our normal phones, it's not. Text is considered written proof or whatever. Emails are considered written proof. So to even have that,
To have
we
your
have one.
clients call them through your company.
We have one.
extension numbers
We
or
have.
something.
If they can do that as well, but if you don't want to be recorded, send that follow-up email. Hey, it was great chatting with you for our conversation. Sounds like you understand the wire fraud, you know the protocol behind that, and blah blah blah. And you can list it down, or at least there's some sort of documentation behind you. We just went through that with one of our agents. Dude calls from England, says that he wants to buy a $350,000 house cash, and he's real. It's this and that.
Oh, yeah.
And then everyone was like, "You're not real." Dude gets furious. Blah blah blah. Turns out he's real.
Yeah,
But we had to like vet
Have to.
them, and be like, look, man, we've already had somebody try to scam us this way, and it finally comes out, I'm real. But better that than just be like, okay, he's real, you know. 'Cause
well, and that's kind of to follow that too. I think JR and I are on the books for May to do our thing together.
Yes.
Okay, so JR will come in with me, and he's, you know, he does litigation. So he will talk to you from a litigation standpoint of why document is so important. And the scary time that happened for a real estate agent, when he has a real estate agent on the stand and he's peppering you with questions about something and you have nothing to show for it. So like you
Right.
said, yeah, hey, I told him about it, whatever, but what matters is what can you prove? What evidence do you have? And it just goes with still with something like this. I mean, if you end up in litigation over this, like I said, it's not going to necessarily get you out of it, but if you have a file, whatever your system may be, that you've documented, you can at least show the court, well, hey, I talked to them on this day. I mean, it can only help your case versus
Yeah.
hurt it.
And Dotloop actually has a history where you can go see when somebody viewed the document when they signed it, and
Yeah.
it has a timestamp. Because I even had agents like, oh, I was never sent this. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I just sent it. Looks like I sent it February 2nd at 11:59. And they're like, it's just different than, oh, maybe I didn't send it. It's like, okay, I'll resend it. Here it is at this time at this exact date.
Yeah.
It'll help you if you're up saying stuff like, at 11:59, we went over this. This is what they signed the agreement after. I did this and this, and they're just going, but they didn't say it, right? So then it
Yeah.
helps your case a whole lot better than just, well, she said that. No.
Yeah, right. It's just the finger pointing. Yeah. So this has like been a really just a huge thing on my heart for our industry because of the importance of how we are perceived in the community, and how people are coming to us as professionals to buy, sell, to do their title work, to do their closings. If we don't take this seriously, then people aren't at the end of the day going to really take us seriously, because it's such a big thing, and it's all over the news. So we have to stay on the up and up for it. And to have seen this come through my office, it just really hit home for me. And the agent was scared to death. She called me first thing, was like, I don't know what to do. But we've gone through so much training. Like, I could tell her exactly what we have to do right now. Got to call the FBI. Got to activate the kill fraud chain. We've got to do all these things. You got to call this bank. You've got to call the receiving bank. We could help her get through that, because she was just like in panic. So I just think it's huge for you guys to make sure that all of your agents are educated on, if this were to happen, what do you do next? Because if you take the time, and I really strongly encourage you to take the time, it's just a 2-page article, but it talks about how real estate professionals, what your role is, and then how you can help prepare your clients. And it gives you some bullet points here. This is actually on page 2, is from NAR. It's their recommended practices. And this is to mitigate liability from losses from cybercrime.
Okay.
Right here. From NAR. Very important. And then the next page also tells you the rapid response plan. What you gotta do if you have a client that's a victim of this.
Not throw up and have an anxiety attack.
Yes, free, it's fine. But the quicker you can move, the better. Because the longer you wait, this happened, all went down on Veterans Day. So, they knew, nobody was working, things were closed, it was a whole thing. So we lost a day there. We lost a day. Because it had actually happened the Friday before. We weren't notified until Monday of Veterans Day, or Thursday, so it was Veterans Day. So, yeah. So the quicker you can move, the better. And then it also references this case of Platinum Realty. Yeah, that went all the way up in federal court.
Golly.
Have there been any since that case that have been? Or that's
no.
probably the one that's set.
That's the one that set some precedents, because, like I said, this happened in 2016. So this has only just really picked up since then and gotten worse. That's why you've got this, I'm assuming, Don't quote me on that, but I'm assuming this is probably a result of that too. But again, the court's gonna look at what did you do to help your client, because you established a fiduciary relationship with them right off the bat. And how did you help your client? And then worse, if it was your email that got compromised. There's also in your materials an article about making sure you have secure email and why it's so important to not do real estate transactions through
A
a
personal
Gmail or Yahoo, any of the above.
Yeah. So we, as a brokerage, have really beefed up our cyber insurance,
Also
cybersecurity insurance.
important.
And, like Joey and Ariel will have meetings with Andrew Darlington and make suggestions. And so one thing, like we've turned on two-step verification for True North email, and we strongly suggest that they do it on their personal emails as well. But it would, just for their own, sake and safety with that.
Right.
But besides the text that we will get, from Joey, a couple times they went out, not in the last couple years, but a couple times they went out from me.
Oh yeah.
But it's mostly Joey, but I'm still getting emails to the office email, and usually they're already marked as spam, and it's one of the coming from one of the agents saying, I've changed my bank, and
Oh, dang.
I need to send you my routing numbers for my ACH commission transfers, and yeah.
That's why we have our FTE Connect portal. So I always try to encourage, we send out the invitations initially to clients. Some people just don't love to do a portal. I get that. But we really try to send wiring instructions through a portal. Now, it's for the 80%. We've got the 20% that they're just not going to create a login. They're not going to do it. Then we have to send it to them through a secure email. But we strongly encourage our portal because it is just super, super, super protected. So we can send out our wiring instructions through that portal. And then we also, our wiring instructions come out with they do not have the last four. This one had the last four of an account number. Ours do not. That requires you to have to pick up the phone and call our office to confirm the last four.
That's
I
good.
see.
Right. So
Just extra steps.
Just extra steps.
Safety,
that's right. Yeah. So the bank really missed the mark. The client's bank really missed the mark on that one, big time. And they're not willing to help her at all.
Is the buyer gonna sue anybody over it, or?
I talked to the agent the other day. I just wanted to follow up and see how it's going. And she's just a really sweet lady that's somehow found peace about it. And she's not pursuing it.
Wow.
So that's a rare occasion considering the market that we're in. We have a lot of people moving here from all over. Not everybody is so,
Understanding.
yes. They're a little bit more like, I'm gonna see you for what reason I wanna see you for. So, so she's not pursuing it. That definitely could have gone a very different direction.
How did you remedy it? Like, did they drop the purchase price? Like, how did you?
So
route that
I
through
felt
the
horrible
Ulta?
for her. I waived all of my fees, and
Oh, wow.
the sellers, I think they worked out something with helping with some closing costs. She had a little more money to work with, and then the lender reduced their fees. It was literally just
Aw.
everybody came together and
That's awesome.
tried to help her because she was just widowed and older, and I don't know, she was a sweet lady. She had my heart. So I was like, we won't try to do anything. I just felt so bad for her. And she had such a good attitude about it too. But that's not gonna be the norm. It's not. So, and this is just what I've seen directly, in my office. It scares me to think about probably what's happened, if you look at the greater picture of our whole community, and probably other title companies have maybe seen this, I'm sure they have at this point. We wire in and out every single day. So they're always looking to target us.
Yes. We also, with our insurance company, we have an online kind of class and system of portals iWave, and so every October through December, which we've done the last 2 years, and this will be our third, we bulk assign to the administrative people and then to the agents. And this past year, 2022, there was 2 cybersecurity classes that and you have to, you have to view them, you have to take a test at the end, that kind of a thing, like which one of these, sort of like that, this about email.
I definitely recommend that, because we have to do extensive cyber training with Foundation Title every year. We're required to have so many hours every year, so that we are always on high alert and know what we're looking for. Should something happen, we know exactly what we have to do first thing, the rapid response plan. So definitely encourage having everybody do those regularly.
So it basically takes you through like recognizing what's phishing, what's, a red flag kind of thing.
Yeah, and if you're gonna be looking at those documents, don't do it in a place where you're rushed. Like, if you can wait 20 minutes to sit down and make sure that you're focused on whatever you're doing, like, don't rush through this. This is very important. It's your money. Make sure that it's all valid. Call the person, verify it. You're not too busy ever to protect yourself in that.
And always trust your gut too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
If you feel something, say something.
Absolutely.
Because all of these fraudsters do is they just sit and watch and wait.
Yeah.
They do nothing else. They sit and watch and wait. They plug in all of their little codes and all that they do, and they sit and watch and wait, and they're waiting to attack your clients. And you'll never find them. You'll never find them. It's insane. It's the dark web of people. Yeah. Any questions?
I don't think so.
Well, hopefully this has given you a lot to think about, and a lot to think about when you go to meet with your clients, when you're presenting documents to them, especially this wire fraud warning. Maybe some additional talking points just to make sure that they really understand what they're signing. And like I said, if you guys decide you want to put together some sort of additional sheet to give them of just some bullet points, feel free to take some stuff out of the materials that I've given you today. If you want me to help you with it, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know. But any questions after this, anything you think of after we're gone today, you've got my email and phone number. Call, email me, text me anytime. I'm happy to help you guys. So
Thank you.
appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe if you could do